Thank you very much. What I want to do this morning is try to broaden it beyond lead. Everybody knows what lead is, but I want to talk about innovating in a regulatory straitjacket. You know, the water industry is nothing if not well regulated. Everybody regulates us. So what I want to try and bring to the table is how the customers should look at this, because we should talk to the customers a bit more, and we should actually look at the customers as the person in the kitchen as against the regulator. And I want to use lead, or the fact that we still have lead, or we still have water flowing through lead in 2012 in the UK as an example of that. Now, innovation that I am talking about is disruptive innovation. I'm not talking essentially about innovation of, you know, a new gadget or a new this or a new that. That comes on a day-to-day basis, is readily absorbed. Unfortunately, if you work in the water industry, the first thing everybody teaches about is the various acronyms of the regulators: DWI, EA, Environment Agency, Ofwat, etc., etc., etc. These are the people who control everything. And if we think about innovating within that paradigm, we're not talking about disruptive innovation. So what I want to do is to try to say, okay, throw that away, because the part of the solution, we want to apply a single-minded focus to the lead challenge. I'll define the lead challenge in a minute. But ultimately, if that means we have to think around or outside of the regulatory system, well, so be it. We're talking about disruptive innovation here. Now, onto lead. PB, it's got an atomic number of 82. It's soft, it's sort of silvery grey, it's malleable, it's been around for 5,000 years. It's easy stuff to work with. You go to Bath, you see the pipes, the water pipes, that was made in Roman times, and it's there for, what, I don't know, 2,000 years. But ultimately, people have been working with lead for 5,000 years. It's great stuff. It's very easy to work with. However, it has got some problems. Now, one of the things that at the moment, 80% of the lead that comes out of the ground, and it's essentially mined in, most of it is Australia and some in China, is used in things that we don't, it's not water pipes. We use it in battery technology. So 80% is in battery technology. It's also used because it's very dense, it's used as a radiation guard. So when you go into a hospital to have an X-ray, or indeed in nuclear power stations. We also, of course, as I say, still have it with water flowing through it. Now, in 1970, we banned water flowing through lead. You can't put lead pipes anymore. I don't think you can go to B&Q and buy a lead pipe to put into your house if you were so inclined. We also banned lead solder. There's a very good reason behind that. However, 40% of our homes, and I think this is a number of people are surprised at, 40% of the homes in the UK consume water that flows through lead at some point on this journey. There's no lead when the water is in the environment. There's no lead when water leaves the water production plant, water treatment works. Any lead that is at the tap is in there because it flows through a pipe. And when I ask people the percentage, people say, oh, 4%, 2%, 5%. It's not, it's 40%, approximately. We don't know exactly, because it's broken up into bits and pieces, and most of the lead sits on, and I'm going to go into a bit of jargon here, the customer side. So it's the bit of the pipe that you own as a house owner, not the bit that the water company owns, or indeed inside in the house in the plumbing. Why is that a problem? Because lead is a poison. And I think this, if you take nothing away from this morning, lead is a poison. It's not good. You pull this stuff off the internet and you see, you know, at high levels, abdominal pains, constipation, anemia, coma, death. You know, it's not good. Additional complaints for children, I think, is you talk about reduced IQ, neurobehavioral problems, attention deficiency disorder, all these types that are caused by lead. Now, recent research, and I have the details, I'm not going to go through it here, but recent research says that those behaviorals and those loss of IQ, those drop of IQ, is significant at very, very, very low levels of lead, not just the levels that I'm talking about here. There's a reason why we banned it from paint. There's a reason why we banned it from petrol. We don't want it. It's not good for you. So the only significant source of lead in the environment in the UK today is lead from pipes. Unfortunately, they happen to be drinking water pipes. Now, why is this a problem, and why are we dealing with it? I would say that this is where regulation causes issues. We have got the very high quality drinking water in the UK. We hit all the WHO standards. Great. You will constantly hear about being the best quality in Western Europe, etc., etc. And it is, and it hits the standards. But there is a presumption here that by the public that if it hits the standards, it's okay to drink. But actually, there is no safe standard for lead other than 0. Now, you see a graph here behind me, 50 micros, 25. It's going to 10 next year. So December 2013, I think it's in fact Christmas Eve, 24th December 2013, the lead limit will be moving down to 10. Now, that's a great Christmas present for everybody in Europe. My perception, what will happen is we'll have some sort of loss of compliance. There'll be hot spots around the countryside. There'll be a bit in the press about it, and ultimately, we'll fix it. As a water industry, we are very, very good at hitting targets. That's what we do. We hit targets because we've been playing a game with a regulator for 20 years to hit those targets. And the important thing, if you are in the water industry, is you hit those targets without spending 1 penny more than you absolutely have to. So we have become a target-driven industry, as against a solution-led industry. And I think that is a problem. Now, I've put a 0 here, and I predict at some point in the future that will go 0. The one thing I can absolutely guarantee, is nobody's going to say it's okay to eat a bit of lead next year or the year after, right? So we'll increase it back up to 50. That ain't going to happen, I can tell you that. World Health Organization. Lead is a metal with no known biological benefit to humans. Now, if you have lead at a low level and the symptoms are there and they're not really visible and the person is ignorant, or indeed, if it's an infant that's growing, consuming lead, very, very low levels, the parents are ignorant, okay? What does that say about us that we accept that? We accept that happening today. We try to control it, we try to minimize the risk. Indeed, the standards are hit and the standards are met. And I am from the water industry, I'm very respectful of the work we do in the water. But we accept a level of risk that I think we don't need to accept. Removal of lead pipes is costly. Of course it's costly. But the most effective measure to reduce lead exposure in water. So we accept within the sector, and within society, I think society takes responsibility for this, and there's a certain amount of lack of national leadership here, that actually we will accept the fact that there is some lead. But we'll manage that, and what we'll do is we'll take a finite resource called phosphate rock, which is unsustainable, and we'll pour that into it. So we'll import phosphate rock from Morocco or wherever, we'll make orthophosphate, and you can see there's a graph at the top there which is the commodity price, so it's not going down. Down the bottom, there's a use throughout the world of it, and phosphate rock is getting rarer and rarer. So we're going to manage our risk with that. The way you can see is when somebody says, how can you be sure that 40% of our water consumed goes through a lead pipe? I can be sure of it because 95% of our public water supplies is dosed with this stuff. The only reason it's dosed with it is because it's to minimize the risk. You cannot eliminate the risk without eliminating the lead. Why do we allow this to go on? Ignorance. Ignorance from the water companies. We think because we're hitting our targets, it's tickety-boo. We're good at this stuff, lads. It's another target, box ticked. Line number 2,423 on the spreadsheet, done. Move on to the next one. Customers, why do they? They don't know about it. Go on a website. Go anywhere on a website, any water company website, and you say, if you have lead pipes, we will replace them if the level at the tap is higher than 10 microns per litre. How do I know? Go under the kitchen sink and scrape away with a key. See if it's a greeny blue. It might be purple, if it's that. We don't know, right? If you think you've lead, ask us to take a sample. Now, how many people, Saturday morning, what are you going to do? I'm going to check for lead pipes this morning. I know, I've got nothing else to do. Let me get a shovel. I'll dig up my front garden. I'll see if I find a lead pipe. If I can, I'll ring up my friendly water company and say, can you take a sample, please? Nobody does it. So ignorance is prevalent and encouraged. As I say, back to us, what does the water industry do? And I say this as an insider. We raise finance. We're very good at raising finance. We are regulated. We hit targets. We pretend about competition. We play a bit of competition, but really, we're all about, our customer is, I think, the regulators. Our customer must be the person in the kitchen. Now, what really worries me, and this is the bit that I want to absolutely emphasize today, is that we have a lot of problems coming over the hill. Floods, droughts, climate change, population growth, etc., etc. Every second day you turn on the telly, there seems to be somebody either drowning or dying of thirst. Now, what has happened is that we had a very severe drought last spring, and then it started raining, and it hasn't stopped raining since. So now we're full of water, so all the politicians have said, that's okay, we'll sort it. no problem with water. Until, of course, it starts flowing down the streets and filling the houses, and then they start talking about flood defences, which, to refer back to the previous speech, is all about building big concrete structures. You may cover them in earth, but they're concrete structures to prevent the water going into your front room. That isn't the way forward. We cannot do this. So what's happening? All of us in the water industry, innovation, innovation, innovation. What worries me about this is if we, as an industry, don't take hold of the innovation agenda, the regulators will. And you know what? They'll set us a target. They'll set us an innovation target. It'll be spend X, Y, or Z. And you know what? We'll do it. We'll hit it. And then we'll all be innovative. And we'll all feel better. And we'll still be drinking water that goes through lead pipes. But we'll have hit our innovation target. So my plea is, please, let's start talking to customers. Let's please start talking to them. Get out there. And I'm not talking about a national survey, this or that. Let's go out, deal with the people who work at the local level. The children's charities, the faith-based groups. Understand, don't make assumptions that people won't pay more. We have huge assumptions that people don't value water. The people who don't value water sit in Whitehall because they don't care, because they're worth a bloody fortune, most of them. They don't worry about it. But they assume that everybody else can't afford it. Now, if I said to a lady with a new baby, will you spend £200 to remove lead from your house? They'll spend £200 in mother care on bottles, for goodness sake. So will you do it to protect your baby from lead? Of course she will. But we'll assume, no, she won't. She'd be happier to have, 10 micrograms per litre because that's safer than 25, So please, let's take hold of this. So I'm setting a challenge. What today is about is me trying to set a challenge. That, to me, is the challenge. No person will drink water that comes in contact with lead in the UK after, and I've picked 2020, okay? Now, if that challenge is set at a level where somebody rows in behind it, okay, we now have got a situation where we have a technically capable industry. We have fantastic engineers in this country, in this industry. We're actually getting to the point where there's no problem technology. We can replace those pipes. We can reline these pipes. We can do this. But actually, we've got to say to the regulators, get out of the way. We'll spend the money different. The money we spend on phosphorus daily dosing, we'll spend different. The money we're spending on replacing half a lead pipe, we'll spend it differently. And let's conquer this. And I think that until we move from what I consider to be the darkness of regulated mediocrity into some sort of enlightenment of engineering innovation, we are finished in this industry. And I think we need to start with lead. Thank you very much.